Tuesday evening from the Standard Group Center here in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Hello and welcome to KTN Prime.
Many thanks for joining us. We have a comprehensive bulletin for you, and we begin with the latest bit of bad news for President Uhuru Kenyatta, which has just come in from The Hague.
Now, barring any other development, President Kenyatta will have to attend all the sessions of his trial at the International Criminal Court.
The court earlier this evening overturned an earlier ruling that had granted him permission to skip some sessions of the trial.
KTN's Edith Kimani now reports on the rising stakes at The Hague.
The decision by the ICC to have President Uhuru Kenyatta continuously attend all his hearings at The Hague could not have come at a worse time. The president has already lost several fights to save himself the shame of leading from The Hague courtroom, and this latest decision by the Hague-based court adds to the growing list of disappointments. Trial Chamber 5B says its decision is informed by the Appeal Chamber's ruling on Deputy President William Ruto. In the Deputy President's case, the Appeals Chamber ruled that absence was only permissible under exceptional circumstances. The judges ruled that excusal from trial would therefore be granted only on a case-by-case basis. These exact rules now apply to the President. With the prosecution playing hardball, all eggs are now in the Assembly of State Parties basket. Kenya and her supporters are hoping to push through amendments to the Rome Statute that could potentially see sitting heads of states get immunity from prosecution. But Bensouda's team is also upping the ante. They want the amendment to forestall the problem of witness withdrawal. The amendment to Rule 68, if adopted, would see any recorded audio, video, or even written transcripts produced as evidence in court. This would be accepted even if it was from deceased witnesses, witnesses unable to testify orally, or witnesses deemed to have been interfered with. Should these amendments be adopted, the prosecution, currently faced with multiple witness withdrawals, would have a field day. Bensouda would legally submit recorded statements from those witnesses as evidence. Naturally, Kenya is having none of it. They have raised concerns of witness cross-examination, but the ICC says the amendment will hasten proceedings and streamline evidence presentation. With unpopular amendments on one side and unfavorable rulings on the other, President Uhuru Kenyatta appears to be walking a tightrope. As it is, however, the president is waiting for Thursday, when state parties will be expected to vote on Kenya's proposed amendments. Edith Kimani, KTN.
The Big Q in association with Kenya Power.
Of course, as Edith Kimani puts it, the president's fortune could change on Thursday when the Assembly of State Parties votes on some amendments that have been put forward by Kenya that could see, among other things, a sitting president exempt from attending trials at the International Criminal Court. But all the same, that forms the basis of our big question tonight. We're asking you, do you support ICC judge's decision to have the president continuously present during his trial?
Tell us what you think. Send in your yes or no response to the number on your screen. That is 22155. And of course, you can tweet us as well at Ben_Kitili, at Linda Ogutu, and at KTN Kenya. We shall be sampling some of those comments during this live newscast.
All right, so just how poor is your county? Well, a new report suggests that a majority of residents of most counties can barely live decent lives. According to the report, absolute poverty is highest in counties in the northern part of the country. And as KTN's Asha Mwilu reports, these inequalities could be the biggest headache for county governments.
If you live in Nairobi, you are 15 times more likely to get access to a secondary education as compared to an ordinary Kenyan in Turkana. You're also 15 times more likely to get a job, 3 times more likely to get access to clean water, and 4 times more likely to learn how to read and write as compared to an ordinary Kenyan in Turkana County. These are just some of the glaring realities of the inequalities that exist in Kenya. The Kenya National Bureau of Standards and the Society for International Development launched a report in Nairobi highlighting these inequalities. Despite the takeoff of devolved government services, counties that have been trailing in development are yet to make much progress. Turkana remains the poorest county with 88% of its population living below the poverty line. Mandera and Wajir are also in the bottom 3. On the flip side, Nairobi and Kiambu counties have the least number of people living below the poverty line. Residents in Turkana are, however, not surprised by the report. After all, they say their county has been lacking basic resources such as water, food and health facilities.
Ile kazi zingine za chini Waturkana wafanye. Wanasema Waturkana hawajasoma, kila siku Waturkana hawajasoma. Ukienda huko Waturkana hawajasema. Sasa hawajasoma, ukiangalia makicho yote wako na madegree, madiploma, nini na wana hustle.
On education, these inequalities are dragging the same counties behind. An overwhelming 82% of Turkana residents have no formal education. Wajir's 76% have never been to school, while 74% of Garissa residents are illiterate. Nairobi, Kiambu and Nyeri have the lowest number of illiterate Kenyans. 24-year-old Abdul Razak Mohammed from Garissa did not want to be part of these statistics. He struggled to get an education, even traveling to Uganda for a university degree. Now he's back in Garissa, but the odds are still against him.
The government has done little to provide employment for the people of Garissa, and not only the people of Garissa but the whole of Northeastern. It's like employment these days is not based on what you know but who you know.
While Nairobi, Mombasa and Kiambu have the highest number of employed Kenyans, a mere 6% of Kenyans from the counties of Turkana, Wajir and Mandera work for pay. According to the report, the buck stops with the county leaders to address the need for equitable opportunities, especially for marginalized communities. But it seems the wait could be long for residents of the counties, as governors, senators and members of the National Assembly are caught in a seemingly never-ending battle for supremacy. Ashamwilu, KTN, Nairobi.
That is where your county stands. Now, you probably know by now that the government is planning to take all drivers back to class following the rising cases of road accidents. But now experts are not too sure how that would work. Does the country have the capacity to administer tests to all drivers? And is this what it will take to restore sanity to the roads? Here's KTN's Welkista Nyabwa with a closer look.
On Kenyan roads, it often seems as if only the most aggressive get ahead, and many drivers are determined not to be left behind, often flouting traffic laws while at it. Faced with a rising number of road accidents witnessed in the country, the government now proposes that all drivers return to the classroom and submit to driving tests afresh, enabling the government to separate the wheat from the chaff. A proposal that has elicited varied reaction.
I don't think you sit there for long. It's a very short period, the time which cannot allow you to have known everything. So you need to go back and do your own theory part at home.
Kuna wengine ambayo hawakupitia pale, wengine wamepitia njia choro.
But just how many drivers have had proper driving lessons? At the South Bay Shopping Centre, we spotted this minibus driving into the estate. When it arrived at this corner, the driver alighted and another took his place. The substitute driver is a learner, often a town boy, and he will drive through the estate and back to the spot where the certified driver takes back his vehicle, as seen here. A few weeks of this is deemed sufficient practice for the learners, and afterwards they take to the roads as fully fledged drivers. In the face of criticism, a section of drivers say that they are indeed qualified to be on the roads, given that they have received training from various driving schools. The quality of the training that they have received from these schools is, however, set to be tested. While a section of driving schools teach everything from the basics to the more technical aspects of driving manual vehicles, it is often the case that some will have several students crammed into the car, each allowed to take the driver's seats for just a few minutes at a time on a few practice sessions. They then go on to secure road licenses under unclear circumstances.
We have a country whereby there these things happen through back doors. People get licenses from back doors. They haven't gone through a school, or probably someone just comes up and says, I know how to drive, goes, gets a license. I know how to ride, goes and gets a license.
Questions now abound as to just how the government would accomplish the feat of testing each and every driver in the country, and whether the drivers would be subjected to a new, improved curriculum. As a debate rages over the effectiveness of subjecting drivers to fresh tests, it would appear that in a few months, all Kenyan drivers, experienced and inexperienced, will find themselves back in school. Wilkistan Abwa, KTN.
So Linda, can you take a test again and pass?
Actually, having a very interesting discussion with Ben Kitili, and I'm asking him, why would someone want me to take the test using a manual car? I will never drive it anyway, so why can't we just use an automatic car?
Maybe you have a point, but can you reverse even in an automatic car and pass or park?
Parking is a problem, reversing is a problem.
I know.
A lot of women are going to have problems with that. Let's see how that goes, of course, in the coming days. Let's now focus on an issue that is of concern to every single Kenyan who owns a television set.
Now, to that looming proposed switch off by your television programs as you know it today, the High Court will on Friday next week hear a case filed by major media organizations in Kenya seeking to stop the switch to digital transmission.
The media houses argue that a majority of their viewers still do not have the special boxes required for the new system, and that pay TV channels are getting an unfair advantage in the migration.
As KTN's Catherine Omando reports, 2 organizations have now successfully joined the petition.
With uncertainty looming in the media industry over the impending switch-off of analog signals, this case is a matter of life and death for the television industry in the country. In court, government lawyers were reluctant to have the Consumers Federation of Kenya and West Media enjoined in the petition filed by the 3 media houses.
And oppose COFEC's further participation in these proceedings. Since it has already had its day in court, they should not be allowed to participate in these proceedings.
West Media Limited is a communication media house.
After each side gave their arguments, Lady Justice Mumbi Gugi eventually allowed the 2 organizations to join the case. In 2012, COFEC had petitioned the government against the original switch-off date, which was set for October this year. It was noted that the 2 cases have numerous similarities. Nation Media Group, the Standard Media Group, and Royal Media Services had filed an urgent court petition against the Communication Commission of Kenya, challenging CCK's apparent granting of exclusive rights to local pay channels to oversee the digital migration process. The 3 further accused CCK of violating the channel's intellectual property rights following its move to allow Star Times Media Kenya, Signet Kenya, Pan-African Network Group, and GoTV Kenya to intercept and transmit their programs. While the petitioners fully support digital migration, there is a great concern over the high prices of special gadgets known as the set-top boxes that will be used to receive the digital signal. They also complain about untested signal strength in some areas and lack of consumer awareness, issues that could send the government back to the drawing board. The global deadline for going digital is mid-2015. Petitioners say that if the government does not want to set its date to mid-2015, it should at least push the switch-off date to mid-next year.
The Communication Commission of Kenya had originally set the big switch for the 13th of December 2013. This would mean that those who are still using the analog system would be technically in the dark. But with Lady Justice Mumbi Gugi setting the hearing date for the 6th of December, this means that the migration from analog to digital is still up in the air. Catherine Omwando, KTN in Nairobi.
Police in Nyeri are looking for a 22-year-old man who has been missing for the last 2 months. The family says the man disappeared mysteriously, has not been seen nor has anything been heard about him. But even here in Nairobi, a family is in agony after their son went missing in similar fashion 2 weeks ago. So where are these people? Is someone keeping them? KTN's Patrick Amimo reports.
Jane Wambugu and husband James Wambugu have spent 2 months now trying to trace their 22-year-old son Samuel Maina. Maina was doing his internship at the Nyeri Provincial General Hospital. He left his parents' house at Blue Valley Estate in Nyeri town on the morning of September 20th, but never returned.
Sorry, the mobile subscriber cannot be reached.
Parents cannot reach him on phone. Before he went missing, Samuel sent 2 messages to both parents from his mobile phone. One asking for forgiveness if he had ever wronged them, and the other saying he loved them and appreciated their sweet treatment. Samuel wished them a good night and promised to see them the next day, which was never to be.
Mama and Dad, I loved you so much. Sasa nimemwacha na muombea maisha marefu.
Police in Nyeri have been trying to trace Samuel, but the pace has been slow and unsuccessful so far.
Sasa huko Akashura ni upande wa Nakuru. Anakaonekana hapo amelala, lakini pahali walilala hakukonyechanwa, hiyo nini haikushika. Lakini asubuhi yake ikaonekana huko Nakuru town.
Tumetabika sana. Na sasa hata tunatabu. Maana sasa kuna kazi tunafanya. Tunakaa hapa tu tukizunguka tukifikiria habari ya mtoto.
In Nairobi's Huruma Estate, Caroline Wanjiku and John Wainaina are equally in deep thoughts over their missing kin. Paul Kimita Gadhoni disappeared on the morning of November 13th. He was returning home after completing his night shift at the Royal Media Services, where he was working as a video editor.
Signal ya mwisho ilionekana ni KTDA Plaza around saa 5 ya asubuhi.
Paul used to stay alone, and neighbors say they never saw him return home.
Inauma mtu kwa sababu hujui mahali yuko, hujui kile anafanyiwa, hujui mateso yenye anapitia, hujui ama bado ako salama ama na alafu ukiona polisi hakuna yani steps wanapiga.
Hadi sasa tulipokwenda kwa polisi, kwanza walituambia zile data calls zingechukua siku 4, kisha wakatuambia kwamba baada ya siku hizo 4 watawasiliana nasi, lakini kufikia sasa hawajawasiliana nasi, kwa hivyo sisi tuko katika giza.
Journalist and blogger Bogongo Bosire is another person who has been missing for over 2 months now. A missing person is a person who has disappeared and whose status as alive or dead cannot be confirmed. Some people decide to disappear due to family or financial problems, yet others are victims of crime like kidnapping. The specter of missing a loved one is an agonizing experience. But what is worrying is the inaction from the police who are supposed to investigate such matters. Perhaps it's time a special unit was formed to look into these matters regardless of one's status in society. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
Patrick Amimo, the reporting. Now, such crimes were the subject of a special meeting between members of the Senate and top security officials. The leaders were concerned that the police were seemingly being overwhelmed by crime. In their defense, the officers blamed personnel shortage in the police department, proliferation of weapons along the borders, and inadequate facilities for the rising crime. However, the Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo, maintained that they were trying their best in fighting crime. They also urged the government to be strict with the repatriation of refugees, saying that some were contributing to criminal activities in the country.
Establish tracking system of money used to facilitate criminal activities in Kenya.
Mambo ya Turkana tumeelezwa, wajumbe walikuwa hapa pia wa Pokot, wameeleza matatizo yaliyoko. Maafisa wa serikali pia wametueleza, askari ya kutosha imepelekwa, na tunatarajia kwamba punde si punde amani itarejeshwa katika sehemu hiyo.
It's the second day of the week. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Let's do business. 13,000 women and youth are set to benefit from 102 million shillings grant from Coca-Cola Kenya. The money will be distributed through the Uwezo Fund to support poverty alleviation in line with government's objective of empowering the women and the youth. Philip Keitani kicks off tonight's business.
Unemployment in the country has been a growing concern in Kenya, with 40% of the population out of work. The subject has remained emotive, with the successive governments failing to work out a lasting solution. Since taking power, President Uhuru Kenyatta's government has made enabling the youth and women start up their business a matter of priority. The 102 million shillings from Coca-Cola is expected to supplement Jubilee's Uwezo Fund.
We intend to use the resources for the expansion of the volume of and access to finances of these youth who previously financial institutions were not able to finance. and true support them in generating gainful employment.
We believe in doing business in a way that benefits the long-term interests of the different facets of the communities in which we operate, while at the same time growing the economic value of our local businesses.
The Ministry of Devolution and Planning will identify deserving women and youth across the country, while Coca-Cola, under its 5x20 program, is expected to provide start-up capital and sales equipment to enable the selected women and youths start their businesses. Coca-Cola will also provide capacity building specifically on financial service training and mentorship support, with their beneficiaries receiving business skills training, as well as networks with mentors to facilitate a smooth transition into gainful, sustainable employment. Under the 5x20 program, Coca-Cola seeks to enable the empowerment of 5 million women and youth around the world by 2020, with Kenya being key in achieving this mandate. Philip, KTN Business.
Now, the standard gauge railway construction is to commence this week and is set to transform Kenya's transport system by attracting investment. According to analysts, the railway line is a cost-cutting avenue for money spent on repairing roads, but better still, significantly reducing the cost of doing business in the country. Enhancing freight security in comparison to road transport and positioning the port of Mombasa as the preferred facility in the region are some of the gains projected on completion of the construction of a new standard gauge railway system. If complete and operational by 2016, the railway shall in turn fasten movement of cargo from Kenya into landlocked countries Rwanda and Uganda.
We have overspent money on what would call the Mombasa-Maraba Highway, both in terms of the road sinking because of the heavy trucks that are carrying goods from Mombasa. We have lost money in terms of the speed of moving those goods.
Following his recent trip to China, President Uhuru Kenyatta was able to secure funding for the construction of the new railway line. The line is expected to stretch from Mombasa to Nairobi through to Malaba and Kisumu, and a trilateral agreement signed between Kenya, Rwanda and Uganda will see the railway line extended further.
Kenyan manufacturers themselves, and this is not a secret, they take Uganda, they take Rwanda and they take Congo and Southern Sudan as extension markets.
Kenya recently shifted from manual port clearance to the electronic system to reduce cargo clearance time and will need the railway line to make the transportation period as fast. However, should it not be complete, this could see Tanzania edge up on Kenya's target of reaching out to countries like DRC, Burundi and Rwanda. And some more good news. Kenya Airways' newest aircraft, the Boeing 777-300ER, had its maiden direct flight to Guangzhou, China, boosting its connectivity to the Far East. The 400-seater plane, capable of carrying 60 metric tons of cargo, is a major scoop for the airline as it looks to cement its place in the continent as the preferred airline. Edith Kimani went along for the maiden flight and brings us this report.
National carrier Kenya Airways officially opened the doors of its brand new Boeing 777-300ER to commercial passengers. The destination for the inaugural journey was another milestone for the airline, which for the first time made a direct flight to Guangzhou, China.
We have done with the reception of the new aircraft, it allows us to be able to fly direct. And that eases the customer convenience, one stop, direct from Nairobi to Guangzhou, between 10 and 11 hours, 3 times a week. It means that we actually are the most competitive today from a sort of hub-to-hub, point-to-point point of view.
This will be in addition to the daily flights currently offered by the airline via Bangkok. With a growing demand to connect African traders to China, the airline is optimistic the acquisition of the 400-capacity Boeing will attract the increasing passenger traffic.
Next year, when we receive the other 2 aircrafts, we will go to daily direct flights to Nairobi to Guangzhou, and then the Bangkok hop will change, and we will make we'll make the Bangkok, instead of Bangkok Guangzhou, you remember we do Bangkok Guangzhou and we do Bangkok Hong Kong. We will then now make the Bangkok Hong Kong more frequent.
It's a very modern aircraft with the Wi-Fi, and basically these traders, most of them are digital. They'll be able to order and they'll be able to communicate with their suppliers when they're in the air. And if there's anything that they need to add to what they had already ordered earlier, they'll be able to have that information before they land.
In 2012, the value of trade between China and Africa was estimated at around $200 billion. With 2 cargo planes already heading to China, Kenya Airways is looking to tighten its grip on the profitable route. Edith Kimani, KTN, Guangzhou, China.
The long-awaited East African Community Monetary Union might become reality by the end of this week if the words of President Uhuru Kenyatta are to be believed. Addressing members of the East African Legislative Assembly in Nairobi, the president said the Monetary Union Protocol would be signed in the next few days, starting the process that will see the 5 East African states transition into a single currency union. The president said the monetary union of the region, boasting 150 million people, would send a strong statement of the region's long-term commitment to deepen regional investment and assure investors that East Africa is a genuine single market and an attractive place for business. The monetary union is the last of the 3-tier integration process that began with the customs union and the common market protocol, with the aim of turning the 5 countries covering 1.8 million square kilometers into a federal union by 2015. Meanwhile, some players are warning that the coming into force of the latest protocol is a rude reminder of the frustration by East Africans who are yet to fully benefit from the past protocols. Senior EAC officials have hinted that it will take about 10 years for the protocol to start working.
The community stands at the door of great promise, of peace, security, and economic development, as well as a better standard of life for all our peoples. The Assembly holds the key to this door.
And the controversial bill that seeks to grant pension and other benefits to retired deputy presidents and holders of designated state offices has been formally introduced in Parliament. The Retirement Benefits, that is Deputy President and Designated State Officers Bill 2013, proposes, among other things, the payment of a monthly pension and a lump sum amount for its beneficiaries. Bulletin Buru has the details.
It is a bill that has elicited varied reactions in several quarters, with most people terming it as extravagant, especially in the light of the ballooning wage bill and certain clauses that demand the definition of the word retired. The bill was introduced in the National Assembly by Super Member of Parliament John Mbadi and is expected to cause a heated debate in the National Assembly after the insertion of certain clauses that he says he did not commission. The clause seeks to downgrade airport access for former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. The clause says the 2 leaders will only use the government VIP Lounge 2, meant for cabinet secretaries and other senior government officials, and not the VIP Lounge 3. Away from the politics of it, among the various perks provided for in the bill are a monthly pension equal to 80% of the monthly salary of the entitled person's last monthly salary while in office, a housing allowance equal to 15% of current monthly salary of the office holder, a lump sum payment on retirement calculated as a sum equal to 1.5 years' salary paid for each term served in office, 1 saloon vehicle of an engine capacity not exceeding 2000 cc, which shall be replaceable once every 4 years, and 1 4-wheel drive vehicle of an engine capacity not exceeding 3000 cc, which shall be replaceable every 4 years. Wilson Buru, KTN Prime.
Well, a very good evening and a warm welcome to KTN Sports Today. I'm Lane Washira, and we kick off the bulletin in matters football, where organizers of the Sekafa Senior Challenge have all the reasons to smile after insurance provider UAP offered sponsorship worth 5 million shillings towards the regional soccer tournament set to begin tomorrow, with Kenya taking on Ethiopia. Victor Gala with the rest of the details.
AP Insurance will be the Sekafa 2013 title sponsor after coming on board with 5 million shillings, where half of it will go to insuring all the players, with 2.5 million shillings going towards the tournament.
We should embark onto a very serious marketing plan that shall cover all the 12 member countries of Sekafa.
And moving on, after a tough 2013 volleyball season, the Kenyan national volleyball team are back in their training camp ahead of their camp in preparation for the 2014 FIVB Africa Women's World Championship Group 2 qualifiers. The ladies, under their coach David Lungaho, are optimistic that they will be able to work through the festive season and be fit come next year for the national duty.
The Kenya national women's volleyball team under head coach David Lungao are in an early training camp in preparation for the 2014 FIVB African Women's World Championship Group 2 qualifiers that is expected to serve off in January next year in Nairobi. The 2013 season has been a busy one for the ladies as they have taken part in national duty both locally and across borders alongside their club duties. But according to the tactician, this will not be a stumbling block in their preparation for the next national outing.
More especially after the playoff, players played very well, and physically they are fit because they've been active throughout the season. So we don't have much to do with the physical preparedness. So we believe whatever experience or exposure they've gotten throughout the year is still going to help us in our training.
The ladies are more than willing to work on a tight schedule during the festive season, with their coach being optimistic that their planned training routine will as well give them a chance to enjoy the festive season with their loved ones.
We're going to train up to 20th of December. We have a foreign coaches coming to assist us, who is expected here on Thursday. So we'll train up to 20th of December, then we'll give them some time off to go for the festive season.
Alongside Kenya, other teams that have already secured a slot for the African World Cup qualifiers include Uganda, Cape Verde and Senegal. After 2 editions also of the FIV Volleyball Men's World Championship, including the last in 2010, Italy lost the women's for the first time ever from September 23rd to October 12th in 2014. Moses Swahisi, KTN Sports.
Well, that does it for tonight's edition of KTN Sports Today. But just a reminder before I go, please, tomorrow, if you are a football fan or if you just love Kenya, be sure to be at the Nyayo National Stadium, where Kenya, that is the Harambee Stars, will be taking on Ethiopia as the Sekafa Senior Challenge kick-off tomorrow. And from me, I just hope that Ben Kitili will be smiling tonight. That is if Arsenal manage to win their match. I wish everyone all the best. If your team is playing tonight, I hope your team wins. If it doesn't win, too bad. There's always another day, another match day to look forward to. I'm Lynn Washira. Do have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your viewing and see you tomorrow, same place, same time.
Alright, you're watching KTN Prime. Let's end this bulletin on some surprising note. And a man in Muranga surprised the residents there when they found him eating glass.
How do you eat glass? But it did happen.
I have no idea. Let's take a look and see. Money. And that is where we leave it on KTN Prime. Thank you so much for watching. Sleep well. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Linda Ogutu.
Thank you for joining us on your most qualified news bulletin in town, KTN Prime. My name is Ben Kitili. Good night from the Standard Group Center.